Welcome to yet another episode of Screaming into the Abyss. Today we're screaming into the abyss about something that's been on my mind for, I guess, my entire life, honestly, but this year particularly. I want to talk about human relationships. I want to talk about human relationships. I was talking about marriage specifically on my Instagram story, and I was asking people who are married and people who plan to be married, why do you want to get married? Like, why? So I want to discuss those answers in a bit. And I also want to talk about the nuclear family. I want to talk about what is the point of friendship?
You're just burning the whole shit down. Just running through human. I don't fuck with this. I don't fuck with that. Abolish this.
I brought my list. No, and when I say what is the point of friendship, I know that like has an underlying negative connotation, but I don't know how to frame that question in a way that feels objective. Like, okay, what is the purpose of friendship? There we go. Like, what are
what
friends
is like the
for?
evolutionary? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
sure.
like what is the evolutionary purpose of friendship? Well, no, I think I understand that, but I struggle to understand how friendships are supposed to work. I think I also struggle. This is now my personal problem. I struggle with human relationships because I don't understand. How do I frame this without seeming like an asshole? I don't really understand the point of, what do you call the things that we all
it's
do?
good when you're trying to describe something without sounding like a terrorist, and you're like, it's just not. No, I understand.
Pleasantries,
yeah.
I don't really understand the point of pleasantries. I don't understand why humans don't communicate in straightforward ways.
Yeah.
I don't really understand why I'm always expected to read in between the lines. Like, why don't you hoes just communicate? Just say what you...
Yeah.
People just don't say what they mean, and it really frustrates me.
Well, I think what you find frustrating, I find nuanced and layered. And like seasoning, like you're asking people to speak in like kosher sea salt and black pepper, where it's like, no, I'm speaking in like all of these other, I'm speaking in cumin, I'm speaking in turmeric, I'm speaking in like, it's not everyday salt, yes or no, salt or pepper. It's like, no, I'm gonna like be like a little bit sarcastic, and I'm gonna imply this a little bit, and I'm gonna convey that.
I don't mind. I understand like grammatical tools. I understand, the need for satire and sarcasm and exaggeration.
I'm talking about feeding around the bush. I am in defense of feeding around the bush.
And this is, I'm going
it can't
to
be
beat
everyday
everyone.
Bush. Like,
I'm going to beat all of you. Like, social cues are not my thing. I just think, like, if I don't want something, why am I rude because I told you exactly what I want out of life?
Because of the way you told it. Okay, first of all, 80% of human communication is nonverbal. So to rely what you view as everything and just absolute, it's really only 20% of the pie for most people. There's inflection, there's tone, there's timing, there's pacing. All these things add up to what I would consider intention. And oftentimes, whether it be purposely or by accident, people literally either confuse people, they confuse people's intention, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And intention is hard to read. It requires emotional nuance, which requires emotional intelligence, which is the one skill people don't have. But I don't like selective emotional intelligence either. Like,
what do you mean by that?
There's certain things that we enjoy in the way that we are handled delicately as people, and we enjoy reaping the benefits from it. But when it's time for us to treat other people, then it's like, oh, well, I don't understand that. Or like, we need to all collectively figure out how we want to do this thing. And by that I just mean like how we want to communicate, how direct we want to be, how much we want to sugarcoat things, how like really honest we want to be with our friends when they ask how we look, like how there's so many variables at play.
Well, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I think society pretends to value honesty, but I think that's actually all a lie. I find that oftentimes clearly. Yeah, but I also think that should be something that people are upfront about. Like, I feel like at the very beginning of our relationship, I was like, these are the things I'd like you to lie to me about. Like, here are my 5 things. Yeah. If I ask you if I look like Shrek today, like, lie to me a little. Like, you know, like, don't tell me I look like Shrek. But, like, I came to the table with my list of 5 things, and everything else I would just like you to be honest. Like, if you don't like my pasta, like, just tell me that you don't like my, you know what I mean? And I find that oftentimes when so the last fight that I had with a friend, I have a friend who wrote a script, and she sent me the script and was like, what do you think? And I was like, honestly, I'm not really a fan. Yeah. I don't think it's as funny as you are intending it to be.
You weren't trying to link and build.
But she also asked me for my opinion, and I think the kind thing to do is to give her my opinion. Yeah. Because you asked me for my opinion because you value... I don't give unsolicited opinions. Yeah. And I think that, like, oftentimes it's hard to be... Oftentimes you actually have to choose between being honest and being nice. And I'm never interested in being nice because I think honesty is always kind. Yeah. Okay, maybe not always, but I think 90% of the time honesty is kind. And I think when people are looking for opinions, I think we should normalize prefacing, hey, I'm actually not looking for honesty right now. I just want reassurance. Like, I would love that because then I can lie to you without feeling like I've like sacrificed my sense of, you know?
I think, so you would like to prioritize honesty, and I appreciate that. But my thing about
kindness,
yes, kindness, because kindness. We all know nice people who are not kind. We all know like that, like nice white woman trope. She's so nice. Like I forgot what's the name of that girl who does those impressions. Like
Caitlin.
Yes, that's nice. Like thank you. Oh, if you could just please go get the like that's nice, right? Yeah, you are the least kind person. You'll ever meet. So yes, there's that distinction between nice and kind, but. Let's get down to like brass tacks. Like, what do we actually want out of friendship? Because right now, we're demanding nothing and then being in an uproar when sometimes we happen so like the other day you were with me, I broke my phone and I had Apple Care Plus, and I went to the Apple store, and all those like months of paying $15 a month for Apple Care Plus paid off because when I broke my phone, they gave me a fucking new phone. Yeah. And I think we want friendship to be like that. Like we want it to be like having like a good Apple Care Plus insurance thing. Yeah. And we invest we go to people's birthday, we go to their housewarmings, we ask them how their kids are, we like ask them how their mental health is doing. But then because there's no like actual contract, it's not like Apple Care Plus. You didn't sign something. You didn't pay for something. When it's time for them to repay the favor and they don't, we're fucking furious. And I think this is something that both of us sort of like deal with in our lives, where we'll just expect people to reciprocate things without like ever having a conversation with them about whether they're gonna reciprocate that thing, and then we'll be so fucking enraged when they don't happen to reciprocate that thing. And that's what I'm done with. Like I want to have like a full town hall meeting about what the fuck we're doing about friendship and family and romance and all these things moving forward, because like whatever is currently happening, I just keep finding myself getting exploited. And maybe I'm the toxic one.
I wonder that too. I wonder if we seem to have similar problems when it comes to our human relationships, because I think we're similar in a lot of ways, but also different in a lot of ways. I I think you're actually more of a people pleaser than me, which I didn't think was possible.
Which says a lot.
Like, which is also strange as a guy.
Yeah.
Why do you think that you were able to bypass the toxicity of masculinity and actually care about people's... I don't think I know a single guy who is a people pleaser. I think men are really conditioned from the second they're born to be all about themselves. Like, you're competitive. Like, the marker of masculinity is to be hyper competitive and to just be all in it for yourself, and everything is a race, and fuck everyone else's feelings. But you seem to be, I'd say you seem to be a little too kind. Like, I think it's at your own detriment. You've extended beyond kindness and into niceness, because
into clownery.
Yeah, no, now you're the clown. I think you always suffer on behalf of other people.
Yeah.
Why do you do that?
Yeah, like niceness. I didn't realize this until you just said this, but
that's what niceness is.
Pushed
Niceness
too
is
far
suffering.
is clownery.
Yeah.
Like there's a certain point where it's like the smiling turns into the full clown face. And I think that that's where I find myself in my interpersonal relationships, because, you know, deep down, you know this about me, I'm very much there for people. I help them. I do a lot of emotional labor for free. That's sort of my thing.
What is your... How do you feel about that phrase, emotional labor? I personally hate it, but what are your thoughts?
No. I don't like the way that selfish, narcissistic people use that in order to distance themselves for just showing up for other people when they need them to. But emotional labor is important, because I mean, like, that term and like quantifying it as labor is important, because I think we need to start an emotional labor union, because a lot of us niggas out here doing emotional labor are being taken advantage of. And
what does that look like?
It looks like my point about Apple Care Plus, where it's like, if I broke my phone and I've been paying $15 a month for this thing, and then when I got to Apple, they were just like, you know, me and wifey been going through it this month, I actually can't get your phone right. It's just like, it's a lot. Like, bro, it's Corona though.
Yeah.
And I think about how forgiving I am in that sense, where the second I acknowledge like weakness or vulnerability in someone, I'm just like, you don't need to owe me anything, even if it's something you promised me you were gonna do. You know,
Isn't
even
that
if I
clownery?
catch you.
You don't think you're a clown for continuing to do that?
But it's more about, isn't that, you know, to quote the great Bobo, like, isn't that just what we do? You wake up, you put on your big clown shoes, you put on your big, so like, I'd rather be a clown for like basic human emotion than for like my fucking job or some bullshit. Like, I'd rather waste my time and be exploited and be manipulative dealing with people's emotional labor than like dealing with like my job or like dealing with all these other things, you know? And I think it's about how you choose your time. But for me, to answer your original question, I think it has to do with masochism. I like going through pain with people because I find pain fucking fascinating. Like, I've had friends who are in like very dark or fucked up situations, and I'll just find myself like drawn to them and helping them. Is it
trauma bonding?
It's trauma bonding, but it's also this weird savior complex. It's like weird messianic complex that's like definitely left over from like growing up Christian.
Yeah.
Of just being like, oh, like I can fix this person. Oh, you know what this person needs? You know what this manic depressive person needs? Just a little bit of me. A little bit of me.
Yeah.
So I find myself doing that a lot, and then I think when I really trace it, there is something very what's the right word I'm looking for? Very like voyeuristic, you know? You want to like explore this pain with someone, and you want to explore it so that you're better equipped to deal with any kind of similar pain that you have coming up. You know, like, you know that saying, like, you know, smart people learn from their mistakes, smarter people learn from other people's mistakes. I like to apply that emotionally and like really get a good gauge of just how fucked up someone's life could get by helping them, and then like taking notes and applying that to my own life. But people who never do any emotional labor, I find, actually sometimes end up making terrible life decisions because they've never helped someone explore their own, and therefore they always have to learn from their mistakes because they've never given a shit about someone else enough to learn from theirs.
Interesting.
And I think being a clown and showing up for people who would never show up for me, and always like holding space for people, has actually helped my decision making a lot, because I've gone through crazy experiences that I haven't gone through because I was the person helping someone else get through their experience. So I've learned a lot. I've learned the lesson of a man who suffered way more than me by just being there for people while they were suffering in a way that I could never suffer.
That's interesting. Yeah. I think, do you think love should be, I was asking a friend of mine the other day, I was like, should love be reciprocated, or is it toxic to expect love to be reciprocated? Or is it toxic to not expect love to be reciprocated? Do you know, like, I can see how both can be.
They're
two
literally
sides of
both
one
toxic.
Clown suit. Yeah.
They're both toxic, and it comes down to who you are. For example, I don't expect shit. I give you money, I don't expect it back. I give you emotional labor, I don't expect it back. I give you my hard work, I don't expect it back. Because personally, I've assessed my life and I've realized that I feel better when I don't expect shit from anyone. And I expect that everyone is going to disappoint me. Everyone is going to leave me eventually. And everything that I put in is therefore what I want to put in, because I'm not expecting shit in return. Every time I've ever expected shit in return from anyone, I've been brutally disappointed. And I'm tired of that. Like, I'm taking inventory of my own life, and I'm taking control of my own life, and I'm tired of that shit.
But to what extent do you think that disappointment comes... Okay, now I'm going to drag you. To what extent do you think that disappointment comes from your refusal to set boundaries? I'm dragging myself too, but I'm a recovering people pleaser. I'm learning to set boundaries, which is why I'm so adamant. I think especially as a Black woman, I'm so accustomed to being expected to be a mammy for people, or to be comforting for people. I think I resent the fact that Schopenhauer can be a nihilistic absurdist, but I can't. Yeah. So because I'm a Black woman, I have to be Aunt Jemima. I have to comfort. No, it's bitch nihilism today. Like that's everyday absurdism. Let's get into it.
The thing is, I forgot. I think this is quoted to way too many people, but that thing of like, if you don't speak up constantly, they will kill you and tell you enjoyed it.
Facts.
And
especially if you're Black. Yeah.
For sure. And that's the position I've always found myself in, where I'll eat a lot of shit because I think that is the loving thing to do, is to actually mask someone from the way that they make you feel.
This is the source of all of our conflict. Every time we've had an argument, it's because I have said to you, I've literally been mad at you for not advocating for yourself. Like, why would you let me hurt you? Like, why didn't you just set your boundary?
Because
do you see how, like, you put your loved ones into compromising positions? Like,
listen, you're right. The point is that there's two sides to this thing. Yeah. And you know, if there's one thing I think men are put on this planet to do, it's to eat shit and not complain. Like I still value the art of being born, eating shit, taking pain, shutting up about it, and then dying. You know, like what I miss when men used to just go to war, see some traumatizing shit, come home and die. Like I'm just like, what happened to what happened to like repression, and why have we not explored?
I'm
why?
Streaming.
No, because these days, like, we're such a emotional. We're always unpacking everything. Like everything has to come to the surface. Everything has to be expressed. Everything has to be like dealt with. And I'm looking at my parents' generation who are masterful at repression. And I'm like, I think you guys figured, like, y'all look better off. Like,
why do you think that?
Because repression is a useful, like, biological tool. And by that I mean, like, no, to forget and to repress information is like biological forgiveness. Like, I don't think that humans actually forgive. I think that we physically forget how someone made us feel, and only through forgetfulness is true forgiveness. And I think
Gemini placements are on fire right now.
I think people who are good at repressing and good at forgetting, end up being the most like kind-hearted, forgiving people. And I know they get taken advantage of, but the world needs good people that are willing to get taken advantage of to keep moving. We can't all be these like razor sharp, I'm just in it for me, what are you doing here for me kind of people. Like there need to be people who are willing to take the L. There need to be people who are willing to hold the space, because there's not enough therapy time for everyone. Like, people literally go to therapy because their friendships are dog shit. Like, because we're at a place in time.
Can we talk about this?
We literally pay people
to be our friend,
like $100 to $200 an hour, to just listen without an intent to respond with something from your own life. We literally need to pay to communicate properly. Like, therapy is not fucking magic. It is only actual communication. And if therapy is actual communication, what are we getting the rest of the time? So, like, we're paying people to just be listened to at this point. So
no, I hear you.
There need to be more good people. Like, there need to be more people who can be unloaded on. There need to be more people.
Wait, why is your definition of good measured by your ability to tolerate pain? And to what extent do you think that is influenced by being Christian? No, I really think your relationship to pain is the opposite of mine. And I think that's because you were born into Christianity and I wasn't. Yeah. I have very little tolerance for pain and suffering. And you have very high tolerance for pain and suffering. And I think that's because Christian love is defined as sacrificial. Whereas for me, love is just defined the ways in your willingness to alleviate someone else's pain and suffering. Yeah. But like, cool. The love, my definition of love that I guess I've just inherited from my upbringing is, what is your willingness to alleviate someone else's pain? And your definition of love, this is just like from my observation, your definition of love, which I think is because you grew up Christian, is defined by your ability to absorb people's pain. Why?
Well, it sounds terrible when you say it like that. I guess when you say it like that. Okay.
Jesus died on the cross for us.
When you say it like that, it sounds terrible. But here's how it plays out in reality. Okay. It's 7 a.m. in the morning. You're stuck in the middle of nowhere. You can't afford an Uber and your car breaks down. How many people do you know are getting out of their bed and driving 50 miles to come get you? Because that's what real friendship is. Like, that's what really being there for another. And this whole, like, you know, like, I set boundaries and like, I don't let, like, that leads to a world where we're all just stuck at our car in the middle of nowhere because everyone else is too unwilling to fucking do any emotion. Like, we've killed friendship. It's to the point where, like, we're all on this, like, and then the only time true space is being held for us are when we're paying, like, a white woman $200 to listen to our problems at therapy. And it's like, that shouldn't, like, that's the emotional equivalent of, like, the American healthcare system where you have to be dying in order to go to a hospital, where it's like, why can't we just be better people that get played sometimes, that get, like, it's never gonna be fair. My point is that there are much better options than what we're doing right now, and the options are in the direction of doing more emotional labor, not less. Like
And I think there's a balance. Like, I think one of the reasons
I'm gonna make sure I don't get stuck in the middle of nowhere. This thing is not coming for me. You are not coming for me.
I'm coming for you. Like,
actually, I had a really stressful week.
Sorry, I'm getting a facial right now. Can you like call someone else? No, I understand. Like, but that's why I think in the same way that like and by the way, this isn't my full definition of love. I'm just talking about like love as defined by love as a function of pain. Like, not to make this formulaic, but I think we need to make this formulaic just for context. So if we're defining love as a function of pain, I think my definition and your definitions, they definitely coincide. Like, they work in tandem, they work symbiotically. My definition of love as a function of pain is, what is my willingness to eliminate your suffering? Whereas yours is, what is my willingness to absorb your suffering?
But they're one in the same. By eliminating your suffering. There's an
intersection. Yes, by eliminating your suffering, it inflicts pain on me too. But I also have the right to have I can be like, listen, fam.
Okay, so you just let the coyotes are gonna eat me. I'm in the middle. Just tell me that you don't give a fuck and you're not coming for me.
It's not that black and white, because there's always. It's like, I'm
stuck in the desert. What do you mean it's not that black and white?
I want to eliminate your suffering right now. I could either get into my car and come pick you up, or I could call ADT. I could call a hiring. I could call someone. Call an Uber.
Brother.
No, I could call an Uber to come get you, which is like, I'm eliminating my suffering of having to get up at 3 a.m. But I still have helped you eliminate you. And these are the lines that I'm talking. It's not everyday black and white. It's not everyday I must go walk to you in the snow.
I understand. But isn't that hotter? Like, isn't that sexier?
Like, why do Christians romanticize suffering? I need to know immediately.
Because our mascot is literally nailed to a plank of wood suffering. What do you mean?
Yeah, but like, now I must suffer because of your mascot.
It's the whole team, baby. It's what we do. No, well, that's what it is. And I don't think that anything is real until it suffers. I don't think that.
Talk to me about it.
It's to the that thing Harari said, where it's like, we spend all day working and slaving away for the benefit of Facebook and Google and Amazon, but Facebook and Google and Amazon as entities can't suffer. Mexican mom in New Jersey working at an Amazon packing plant can suffer. So why are we prioritizing this illusory, company that is a network of ideas and feelings and brands that can't suffer because it can't feel anything? It's not even fucking real, over a normal woman who suffers every single day. And I believe that to be true with relationships as well. There's a reason why, like, marriages are judged by the amount of crises you were able to overcome, as opposed to the amount of vacations, because that doesn't mean anything. I don't know what fabric something is made of until it's put in front of the fire. I don't know who's gonna be around me until it's dark out. It's important. Suffering is just clarity.
Thank you for listening to the first half of this conversation. If you're interested in listening to the rest of this conversation, you will find it on Patreon. So please support my Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/bobosvoid, or you can just click on the link in the description box below. If you enjoyed this conversation, I'll be having so many more of these types of conversation with different friends, with different strangers, with all types of interesting people, and sometimes just conversing with myself. If you are interested in philosophy, politics, race, all the things, I'll be hosting all the conversations on my Patreon. So patreon.com/bobosvoid, or just click on the description box below and support me. Thank you.